Okay, I'll call the regular council meeting Monday, May 26th, 2025 to order. Can I get approval of the agenda? Is there any late items? No. Okay. Can I get adoption of the agenda? Can I get a mover and a seconder? Council Reid and Councilor Stanbury. All in favor? All opposed? Carried.
The first item is adoption of minutes. That the minutes from the regular council meeting held May 12th, 2025 be adopted.
Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councilor Reid and Councilor Stanbury. All in favor? All opposed? Carried.
Question period. Are there any questions from the gallery on items on the agenda? The next item is a letter from UBCM, that the letter from UBCM confirming receipt of the resolution endorsed at the 2025 AKBLG Spring Convention titled Financial Support for Infrastructure Costs be received for information.
Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councilor Reid and Councilor Whitesell. All in favor? Carried.
Can I just say something about that actually?
Yeah.
So I was in attendance for this one. We had a very clear majority endorse this resolution. So getting this much support within our local government is really a good sign, and I think there will be a lot of other small communities at the UBCM also in favor of this.
The building permit report, that the building permit report for April 2025 be received for information.
Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councilor Reid and Councilor Stanbury. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Public Works report, the council received the April 2025 Public Works report for information.
Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councilor Reid, Councilor Stanbury. Discussion? Any discussion? Go ahead.
The list of recommendations was provided to property owners if there wasn't adequate devices in place. This is regarding the Public Works training on the cross connection program.
Yeah.
Was there any recommendations provided?
Go ahead.
Yes, there was, even for the village, all the properties that were inspected received a letter. Some received just a few upgrades, some received a longer list, and it is just for businesses, not for private residents.
Anything further? Okay, all in favor? Carried.
The community enhancement report, that the community enhancement report for the month of April 2025 be received for information.
I'm going to move in a seconder. Councilor Marcel and Councilor Whitesell. Any discussion? Councilor Marcel.
Yeah, I'm pleased to see you're working on it. I just seem to be driving around seeing a lot of derelict vehicles and derelict boats and trailers, etc. I wonder if we could have some emphasis put on having those cleared.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So derelict is a funny word because it's subjective. So it has to be, a car with no wheels on it is pretty self-explanatory. But if it's just an old car parked on the boulevard and it's licensed, or a trailer has a license on it, it's the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So if it's licensed, if it's usable, then but it's still ugly, there's not much we can do about it. But we are working towards it. It's spring now, and so there will be other things. There will be tall grass on boulevards, letters sent out, unsightly vehicles are being worked on.
Okay, anything further?
Yeah, when you see a lot or a number of lots in town with 6, 7, 8 vehicles parked on them, pushed in on top of each other, you gotta believe they're derelict. And I think we should put some emphasis on cleaning those up.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all in favor? Carried.
The fire chief report that the Canal Flats Fire Rescue Report for April 2025 prepared by Fire Chief Farrell be received for information.
Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councillor Reed and Councillor Whitesell. Any discussion? Councillor Reed?
I just wanted to say congratulations and thank you to Chief Farrell for the ongoing training that he works toward and the training and knowledge that he's passing on to the members. I had a conversation with him and there's already 3 people who have attended for this month down in Elko. And they had a really good time and things were really successful. So thank you.
Awesome. Anything further? All in favor? Carried.
The financial report to April 30th, that the financial report to April 30th, 2025 be received for information.
Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councillor Whitesell and Councillor Stabner. Any discussion? Councillor Marcel.
I guess we talked about it in budget time, but what are fiscal services? And I'm looking at the sewer operating fund, fiscal services for 5,100. And year to date is 5,480 or 5,460 already, so I'm not sure what that.
Oh, okay, say a whole.
If I may ask what page you're on.
Oh, page 23 of 45. Sewer operating fund expenditures. Second line, fiscal services for 5,100 was the budget. And we're 5,460 already. And what are fiscal services?
Through the mayor,
Yeah.
I am not sure, and I will have to get back to you on that. It must be, it could just be as much as just the licenses. But I'll double check.
There's also fiscal services on the water operating fund. And I just thought I need an explanation for what fiscal services actually are.
Okay. We will get it back to you. Anything further? Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Doherty. So, in the check register, you will see, there was a question about, Ms. Sharp's invoices. This will be the last large one for the year. She will be doing odds and sods for us as needed. We're still working through the audit, so, Ms. Robinson sometimes has to pick her brain on certain things, and she may help us do our financial reporting through the portal to the province, because it's a challenge and not an easy website to deal with. So she has lots of experience. She might help us enter that stuff. But in this invoice, some of it is budgeting, but we're going to be coding it to the capacity building fund because long-term financial planning is an eligible expense. And Ms. Sharp really helped us do our long-term financial planning. She helped us update our whole 5-year financial plan by correcting all the calculations, all the, like the Excel, it was kind of a mess over the years. So she streamlined all that, went through every line item individually and created a much nicer budget for us to work with. Worked on our asset management, worked on our capital plan, and updated our grant management system. So we are much more accurate in our granting reporting, and it's gonna save us a lot of work at the year end for next year. So she started last year, but this year we've really finalized it. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out, that she's been a huge asset to our processes and systems, so.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? Go ahead, Councillor Marcel.
I have a couple of questions about, there's 2 items for, one inland truck and equipment. And the other one was New West Truck Center, total of 2 invoices for, or checks, one for 4880 and one for 87. What are we doing with trucks that are costing that much?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank
CEO.
you, Mayor Doherty. Inland truck and equipment is all the inspection to get the ICBC insurance, so that's a required expense. And New West, the Sterling fire truck needed some maintenance work, so all this is budgeted.
So the New West Truck Center is $4,500 on the truck that we're replacing this year.
No, I don't think that's the same truck.
No,
It's a Sterling. If you're talking to Sterling, that's the only one we got is a big truck.
But it's the fire truck, it's not the snowplow.
That's the fire. So that's 2 fire trucks then. Right?
No, the inland truck, that's public works, that's everybody, that's the 2 departments, and so the trailers, everything. Are you talking about the inland truck invoice, you mean?
Well, that's one of them.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah,
split up between fire department and public.
Okay. And so the New West Truck Center is a fire truck.
Yes,
Okay, thank you. I see we've paid Urban Systems another $8,132 this month. We've to date, from January to April, we have paid Urban Systems $36,087.97. I have no idea what these engineers are working on that have cost that kind of money.
okay, go ahead, Councilor, or CEO.
thank you, Mayor Doherty. Numerous projects, Councillor. The dike improvement, the sewer lagoon dike improvement over there, shore to shore trail, water master plan. They are right now investigating. UBCM came out with a grant for infrastructure last week. So while we don't pay for them right now, they are looking into those projects for us, eligible grant applications. What else? They do a lot of projects for us. So that's combined for the month, and all of those projects were worked on this month that I listed.
So are some of those projects funds to be allocated to like the dike project is subsequent to the province that they're built?
Yeah,
Yes.
And
And okay, if I may,
okay,
the water master plan is also part of that capacity grant that I was talking about, because the water plan is for increasing of housing, so it's all connected.
well, I would just took a quick look, I may have missed something in the budget for engineering consultation. And I find one line item of $14,000, which we've almost double spent that, or more than double already. So this seems like a really big tab.
If I may,
yeah,
everything needs to be engineered. We can't not engineer things anymore. So,
Are all those items in the budget somewhere?
well, they would be in the grants,
yeah,
so they would form like the dikes, the sewer lagoon.
So most of this bills are part of the grant.
Sure.
yeah.
Thank you.
Anything further?
That's fine.
Okay,
That's fine, thank you.
okay. All in favor? Carried.
The next item is the notice on title, that the corporate officer be directed to file a notice on title on the property legally described as Lot A, Plan NEP 1738, District Lot 110, Kootenai District PID 0157936054671 Burns Avenue in the Village of Canal Flats for contravention of Village of Canal Flats bylaws resulting from failure to obtain required inspections and permit renewals, and no further action be taken.
I got a mover and a seconder. Councilor Reed and Councilor Marcel. Any discussion? All in favor?
I'm sorry. The form we got with our minutes, they're not all the same.
If
Yeah,
I
go
may
ahead.
address that, so it's just my report. My report is a copy paste, but if you read the report from the building inspector, that is all that. So I apologize for the mix up. It's kind of crazy time of year right now.
I agree with that. So we're gonna get a new page for our records.
I uploaded it to the new web, or to the website, the public website, but I can arrange for that.
Would you please?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor? Carry.
Appointment of interim approving officer, that Sylvie Hubanoff be appointed as interim approving officer for the village of Canal Flats.
Okay, I got a mover and a seconder, Counselor Reed, Counselor Stanbury. Any discussion? Counselor Marcel,
Do we have any pending developments?
go ahead and see.
Yes. Yes, we do. One is, you're familiar with the Whale Dale, across at Thunderhill with the, ALC or ALR application. And another one came to me today.
Anything further? All in favor? Carry.
Canal Flats Civic Center Upgrade Review Committee, that council approved the establishment of a Canal Flats Civic Center Upgrade Review Committee, and that staff be directed to draft terms of reference for the Canal Flats Civic Center Upgrade Review Committee for council's review and approval.
Okay, I got a mover and a seconder, Counselor Reed and Counselor Weitzel. Any discussion? Counselor Weitzel.
So once we set up those terms of reference, how do we make sure that anybody from the public that would like to be a part of this subcommittee, do we choose who the subcommittee is, and what's going to be their process for application?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. So we would advertise for applicants. Very similar to what we did for the Water Protection Committee. We advertised and people send in a little short bio, and council can choose. Staff usually makes recommendations on the applicants based on experience, and depending on what council wishes, if there's a member of council, if there's a member of staff, how many members of the public, that can be determined. That can be discussed at the terms of reference time. Bring in a suggestion, and council can choose.
Go ahead, Counselor Marcel.
Yeah. I guess I was the one who was recommended that we do this. There's a couple of things happening here. One, we're doing deliberations on getting electrical quotes, engineering construction plans for reinforcement of the roof. All that work is going to do there's going to be serious demolition of what's existing. And we have no plans at all for putting it back together. What else needs working done? There's no accessibility in the building, like the doors wouldn't meet any accessibility. There's one entryway. These are things that have to be looked at if you're going to get building permits and having them approved on a construction that large. The second thing is the EOI basic charge-up program, which is funding I assume for the work on some of this stuff, expires September 30th. 4 months. You got to find a contractor to tear this down. You haven't got any plan at all on what the work is going to be done for the work other than repairing the roof. Or am I wrong on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Doherty. So just for clarity, we only have money to do any energy upgrades. We don't have any money to do doors, like accessible work, nothing else. We will not have to remove the whole roof. The plan is that the tin that's on there now, or the metal roof, is going to come off. There would be some cables that go to shore it up together, insulation over top of that, and the roof. This may be, if I may, this may be done in-house. We may not have to put it out to contract. It depends on how in-depth it is. Those plans are being drawn up as we speak. We should have them in the next couple of days. We already have the electrical quotes. Those will be determined here quickly. And that could easily be done by September 30th. All it is just adding 40 or 400 watt and updating some wiring. It's not a major electrical upgrade. But we can't put solar panels on with the electrical that we have. So this has to happen if we want to do the solar down the road. So I'm working with CBT to perhaps get a little bit more money. So because there was an energy efficiency report done, and needless to say, the doors and the windows don't meet, you know, they do that light.
Yeah.
And it just glows. So there's always funding available for accessibility doors. There's always
Yeah.
things like that. So that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. It could definitely be done in phases, and which is what staff wants to do. First of all, because resources, and we have to fit it in within the schedule. That's the other thing. So we can't do a whole major overhaul and not have anywhere for the people who rent it to go. So the mom and tots on Wednesdays, and there's, you know, Canal Days coming up and Flats Fest and all these, and then there's a private group that's renting it for a motorcycle race in July. So we have to do it in between because they have nowhere else to go. We don't have any other venue for it. So
But you have no overall scope of what could be or should be done to that building.
That's what that committee will be doing.
We will be doing.
the
The committee will be looking into that. Yeah, that'll be part of the mandate. Yeah, go ahead.
If I remember correctly from that Blue Rock report, we determined that the foundation of the community center was still solid, right? Like we're okay for that. Like that was the good news that we got out of that.
Yeah.
And we were just reinforcing the trusses with the cables, and then improving the electrical are just our two big things for this year. Are we going to be, because of when that funding expires and the upcoming things that are happening, are those, like, are we gonna be able to do it all, is kind of what I'm getting at, like.
Go ahead.
so you mean the solar panels after?
No, so that would be like a fall.
That would be a follow-up.
But are we gonna be taking off the roof to reinforce the trusses this year and like during the summer months?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So, and then a new ceiling. So right now, there's hardly any insulation.
like new tiles up there.
Yes,
Yeah.
new ceiling tiles. Yeah. So all these projects could easily be parsed out and done before September 30th. We can't do any of the other work that we've been awarded without doing this work as well. If I can add a little bit more detail too, in 2007 or 8, there was the Bearden Engineering Report, and they estimated that the hall had 15 years left. And so that 15 years has come and gone. And now because we've been doing maintenance, because we've been taking care of it over the since 2007 or 8, now they think that we can save this building. And we have a lot of things we need to buy that may be more important than a new hall for, you know, public works building, fire hall, water upgrades, sewer upgrades. It might not be the highest priority to get a new community hall due to resources and money.
Go ahead.
I would in no way suggest, excuse me, I would in no way suggesting that we needed to build. I do suggest that we need a plan on what needs to be done and how it can scope of that doing. I think the building is an extremely ugly building. And I think if you talk to people who are in the business and other people who are interested in design and so forth got together, we could make that a very, very proud building for this community. And yes, it could be done over years, a couple of years, but without any general plan, going in and doing the roof today and the electrical tomorrow, and you turn out walls, you're going to put in the electrical, but like there's a scope to it. And things like the accessibility factor, I can't believe that we allow a public building in our village not even have accessible doors. It's a shame that we're not looking at things like that and have no plans on how to do it, or when, or where. And we should be putting together a plan that you could scope out and follow. Take the money that we have to do the roof, yes, that's one part, but there's so much more that could be done. And yes, we need to work around other things, but there's another facility across the road that could be rented for, you know, bigger functions around this school. There's other ways of getting around it, and it isn't do it all at the same time. But you should have some kind of a plan in place as to what needs doing and what order it should be done in. And that's what this committee should be doing, and that committee should be formed ASAP. And then get it started.
Okay. Thanks for your opinion. There's a lot of other people in this community that are the opinion that it's a viable place for people to go. They built it themselves. The community built it themselves. So I'm sure there'll be some people taking offense to that. But everybody's entitled to an opinion. So
Yeah,
we will, we'll go forward.
comment on that. Every community, rural district has built their own community centers, and over the years have upgraded them as required. This is not Canal Flats building a community hall is not a unique thing.
I never said it was.
Well, they're saying.
I just was commenting that
Yeah,
I'm very proud of that building. I was, I got to witness it being put up by people in this community, and they all worked hard at it. And it
I
was,
think that's
it was
why
good.
that should be a facelift that makes it back into the set, you know.
And that's what the committee is about.
Well, I asked to put the committee together. I
Yes.
sent you the letter to do that.
And that's what we're doing.
And what are you doing? You're gonna start a committee? And who's gonna run the committee? Who's gonna be chair of the committee?
We'll have a discussion about that later. Anything further? All in favor? Carried.
AKBLG conference report, that the 2025 AKBLG conference report prepared by Councillor Patricia Reed be received for information.
Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councillor Whitesell and Councillor Bamber. Any discussion? Go ahead.
I'll say thank you for writing what you wrote, Councillor Reed. Appreciate your comments and you attending the conference, and that I couldn't be there, and glad that somebody was well represented from Canal Flats. You and Mayor Doherty.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay.
And the last item is the zoning bylaw amendment, that Village of Canal Flats zoning bylaw number 215/2019, amendment bylaw number 287/2025, IT industrial technology zone be read 2 times, and that a public hearing be set for June 9th, 2025 at 6 p.m.
Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councillor Reed and Councillor Whitesell. Any discussion? Councillor Marcel.
Thank you. This subdivision of that whole site, has that been done? Am I missing something? Like all the layout, the lots, the roads?
No. Oh, go ahead.
No, that's a proposed subdivision. And what I understand is that the proponent has entered into an agreement with the property owner to have permission to put this on their property now, which is one of the reasons why it's also a zoning amendment, a broad one, and not just for this property.
Yeah, I understand the purpose for the change on the zoning. Is there gonna be water and sewer to the site?
That's,
Yeah,
if I may.
yeah, go ahead.
That's yet to be determined. If I may add more. So, council isn't just determining the subdivision or approving a subdivision in any fashion. It's just that's a proposed subdivision. This is the location of the cannabis facility as it's proposed. That subdivision may never happen. So that's it's about the zoning and not about the subdivision. That's just additional information.
So does this, just put a business on a site that isn't zoned for IT, that's fine. But there's the water, there's no roads, there's no infrastructure for that site. There's no fire hydrants.
And that would be for when the zoning comes up, that will be up for discussion then. Or
And,
no, go ahead.
and if it comes to pass to subdivide, that would be discussed at subdivision. This zoning is for all the zones
Yeah, no,
in that IT. So some of them aren't gonna
It's a-
be
yeah.
future subdivision, right? So
Yeah, this is just for the zoning, it's not for. Go ahead, Councilor Whitson.
For the setbacks, like the proposed and the change that we're doing, would these setbacks, these amendments, would it be for every proposed subdivision in there, not just the one plot?
Go ahead, yes.
Sorry, I should be looking.
Yes, they are.
yes.
Anything further? Go ahead.
So if we approve the amendment, this could actually just be put anywhere else on the law.
Potentially, yes. However, there is a restriction in this
Or-
zoning or in the amendment that it can't be, what figure is now off the top of my head, but there is a restriction on how close it can be to residential.
What's the nearest residential?
So it can't, no cannabis production facility may be located within 60 meters of any lot that has a residential use as a principal use.
So
So
it could be put right at the front of the road, just 60 meters.
that's
back.
not, it's,
No.
60 meters is very
Oh,
far.
that's not.
No,
if council wishes to change that, that's the number I picked from the city of Kelowna. So if council wished to increase that, that's an amendment that,
Yeah,
that we should add to.
like I like the location of where it should go, and I just, there's zero control after we approve this. To make it go there.
Yeah, we can put an amendment in
So-
to, yeah.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Mayor Doherty. So if council wishes, we could do it by resolution to make this amendment into the bylaw. If you could pick a number.
I saw, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I may, through the mayor to Councilor Stanbury, I saw that you had written to us today just in this discussion, just that there was, it looks like right now about a kilometer away,
Yeah.
which I thought was a good number from being away from, and like I said, it's not, maybe that's not the closest residential, but I saw that it was a kilometer away from the daycare, which I thought was a good amount of space, but I guess there could be more. There's some work, some digging going on the corner of Granger and where just in front of the card lock there, Bailey Groman, and so like that would, that could be residential as well, or considered residential once it gets up and moving. So I'd be curious to know kind of what the measurements are of that. And I like, what I'm saying is I like where it's at right now, like where it's proposed to be at. And I'd like it to, if we're gonna approve this, to keep it there.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Councilor.
So I think that the setbacks, like the distance from a daycare or school, anything like that is 300 meters, so
Yeah.
would that be,
That's still very close to the front of the property. That's that extra 700 meters back, or so that extra, yeah, almost 700 meters back. That puts it back in that corner nice. Would we be able to ask Philip to
Yeah,
ask him a question?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so,
Express some concerns?
No, I just wanted to thank Councillor Reed for bringing the point up that there's federal regulations that supersede all municipal and provincial rules. The daycares, the elementary schools, the residentials, these are all very important to the federal government, and they will deny licensing based on proximity to all of your concerns here today. So it's not only in my best interest, but in our collective best interest to ensure that the location of this project conforms to these federal rules, because there's a lot of capital expenditure that needs to be outlaid to set this up. And if you set it up in the wrong spot, you don't get the license, so then it's all for nothing. So I'm here to not only adhere to these federal rules, but to work with you guys to make sure that it's in a location that is to the benefit of the community, but more importantly, out of sight, out of mind.
Hmm.
You know, so.
Would you mind if we asked you?
Oh, right, I'm totally open.
Sure. I think you'd mentioned that the facility would employ up to 4 employees.
No, so the way that it would work is, it would be 4 employees per expansion, so there's gonna be like 4 build phases, if you will, so we could have up to 16 employees. And that's not even including the agricultural component.
Mhm.
So my goal, it's very expensive to train people to work with cannabis, there's security requirements, there's federal rules, fingerprints, blah, 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 blah. My goal is to start people off in the agricultural greenhouses, working with plants and produce, which require no clearances or anything. And then as they prove themselves to be reliable and competent, then we can decide to pass them through a security clearance checkpoint. And then at that point, they're qualified to work in the cannabis
And these
operations.
are good paying jobs.
Well, I mean, you know,
Fair.
I wouldn't pay somebody something that I wouldn't want to receive myself. So the whole point of this is because cannabis essentially can subsidize the agricultural sector, and we can, once the people are trained, we can trade the mobility from one to the other. A typical farm worker doesn't get paid very much, but if they are wearing 2 hats, for example, they work 6 hours at the cannabis production facility, maybe 2 hours in the agricultural, or 4 and 4, whatever, well, they could get their cannabis wage to work over there. That's kind of the big picture here with why.
Are you concerned at all about security of the premises, being there's no police presence in Canal Flats?
So, no, because where these locations typically are, they're way more remote than this proposed area. And, you know, it's gonna sound awful, but the police are not very useful at dealing with these issues, because by the time they show up, the damage is already done. They're not really too motivated to investigate anything. So the more important thing for me is to not have resistance in the community where people would want to maliciously cause financial harm to a business that they're against. So if there's an openness in the community for job creation and this type of venture, it reduces the risk that you're talking about significantly.
Just the last thing that actually was of any concern to me was wastewater or fertilizer use or anything.
So because we're farming an organic system, and again, the discussion of the water and sewer, I mean, that's above my pay grade, but the goal is you have very clean water here in Canal Flats.
Mhm.
And my goal is to use that clean water and not have any runoff into the community sewer. In a perfect world, I would be hooked up to the municipal water, not on a meter, but I know that that could be an option. And using your water in an organic system, the runoff is no different. Like you could literally have a runoff go on the grass, it wouldn't matter. So I'm not using.
There's a difference between a runoff of anybody using like fertilizers or anything.
So fertilizers, to
Or
give you an example, when you water plants that have a medium that is inoculated with the beneficials in it, you don't have to add those liquid salts that you're talking about. So what happens is those salts will fry a bunch of stuff. They're petroleum-based products, right? And they're not very good for the environment. The whole key here is with the organic sustainable farming, we reuse that. We could reuse the runoff and the medium for the agriculture so that we don't have these contaminants polluting the municipal sewer system.
Yeah, like you guys are right in our water capture zone for our.
Yeah, exactly.
For our-
And this has been brought to my attention. So that's why this sustainable organic farming works so well, because there's actually, you know, I'm not a scientist by any means, but the comparison of literally just running water through an organic compound versus supplementing the water with salts in order, and then flushing it into the sewer system is quite a big difference, right? But my goal is to catch this and reuse it. I don't want it to go down the drain, but that's money down the drain.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, just to add to that, so I want to stay out of that world. It's not my area of expertise, but to the point of the amendment to this, it's really a tool to just allow for an overall amendment in planning. If you remember back during the OCP, there is really no, and Councillor Marie Dorn and myself were part of that OC committee. But when they were picking sizes of industrial logging, nobody really knew what was going to be needed. In today's day and age, you need these smaller sized lots because a lot of people who want to come here start a business, whether they're a ski maker or somebody making backpacks or whatever. That's it. IT and tech industrial zone is more key towards that. So the amendments that you're looking on here provide sort of a land map of saying, okay, what is the minimum parcel size? The minimum parcel size that's being asked for is an acre. Beyond that, and to Councilor Sills, question and some of the other questions brought up, that's the tool to help the planning. So in the planning, then, if this is successful and once this goes through, that next step is an official subdivision plan, in which, we'll obviously have lots of, it'll be scrutinized and picked apart and say, that works, that doesn't work, or whatever. That's that next step going forward. This just allows a tool to say, okay, for our planning, do all these have to be 5 acres? Because if they do, and you have to distribute costs for example, water, sewer, all these things that are required, it's a non-starter. You just can't afford to, take 30 acres and, make 6 lots and figure that it's going to pay. It can't. And that's not what you want anyway. Is really what you want is you want these maker spaces for people to come in on a smaller level. If, for example, Phil's operation, if and I'm just speculating, if you had to say, well, the minimum size you can have is 5 acres, it's way more land than he needs, first of all, and it's way more cost than he'd be able to incur, so it'd be a non-starter, just wouldn't be able to be there. And that's very true in today's marketplace. Footprints are smaller, people are more efficient, and I think that, the ultimate goal is to get really key makers in these spaces to help develop.
I guess what I'd get at is just what protection does the village have that certain things don't end up in the private road? And I know federal law being 300 meters from residential is 300 meters away from almost the front of the property. So I guess going forward into the future, like what would the developer, the subdivider give us for guarantees that that wouldn't happen?
So, sorry, and Phil, you can speak to that, but we specifically kind of laid out one of the furthest points away.
It's perfect.
Yeah,
honestly.
and that's the objective. It's really good for, I believe, his operation. It's good for the rest of the flow of layout of the subdivision. I think that you guys can have that verbiage in there. 300 meters, as we all know, that's like 3 football fields away from anything. So I mean, that's really important. But I think best practices for development in general is that's what you want, that's what you need. So if council needs a little bit more hard, language on that, I think that you guys could put a resolution in there to, mimic the federal provision for call it 300 meters away from anything.
Just approves on a case by case basis. That's what the other.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, going back to what Carl was saying on the efficiency, in the ALR, you need a 5 acre piece, which you can only use about 10% of because they want you in the dead center of that piece, depending on which community plan you fall under in the ALR. In the case here today, you could very easily just say it's approved on case by case basis when it comes to cannabis or cannabis related operations. And then in that regard, you've protected yourselves, you are holding us to what we're saying we're gonna do and no problem. So it's like, we're not trying to pull a bait and switch here.
Oh, yeah, I totally just, I guess.
Okay, go ahead.
We are kind of hard.
I know this is unconventional, but.
And
Yeah,
Mayor
go ahead.
Doherty, through you to Mr. Rube. So say you build this cannabis facility and then, because we really don't know what's gonna happen in the log yard or in the industrial log yard, how does that affect your license if somebody builds within this distance? What happens then? Because you're first, but then if somebody comes after.
So what do you mean? Like
So like, would you lose your license would you lose your license if somebody built a residential apartment across the street, say at the man's shed, for example, so something that's a little closer than 300 meters, how does that affect you? Is that a risk for you?
Well, so the big one is the schools and daycare, as Counselor Reed had mentioned. So if you guys don't put a school or a daycare, because these cannabis operations can also be done on rural residential land, right? In the ALR, that's one of the categories where rural isn't necessarily the sticking point of objection. It's specifically schools, daycares, like where where children learn, you know, and play. Like that's a big one, because the whole point of this is to reduce access from the kids, right? So like as long as there's no plans on putting a daycare next to that corner lot.
Is it parks too?
Yeah, schools, parks and
Yeah, I thought.
yeah. All children related stuff.
Yeah. Okay,
So if council wishes to change that clause to a different measurement, I would just need a council resolution and a number.
does anybody want to amend that? I think, we had a good conversation about it. Are you guys okay with 300 meters? Yeah. Okay,
And so,
yeah, I'll need a mover and a seconder for that. Councilor Reed and Councilor Whitesell. Any further discussion? All in favor? On the amendment, thanks.
if I could add one more
Yeah.
clause, just for clarity for anyone who's listening or for the people in the crowd, just because council made this amendment does not mean that this will actually proceed to adoption. This is just a process that council needs to take to the public. Just my disclaimer.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder for the amendment, or just the, what was it?
The bylaw.
Bylaw. Councilor Reed, Councilor Steinberg, all in favor? Carry. That's amended.
And the last item is to convene in camera, that the meeting convenes in camera per Community Charter Section 91C labor at 7:17.
Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councilor Whitesell and Councilor Steinberg, all in favor?